Today we are making 1 month's worth of nutritious carbs. Let's go and make magic with carbs. Today we're turning this into this. Now, I don't know about you, but I really struggle to eat a meal and enjoy a meal if it's not got some kind of nutritious carbs in there as well. I really love side dishes that are potatoes or rice or cornbread and that kind of thing, and it just doesn't feel right if my main dish just doesn't have some of these items. And even though I absolutely love these carbs, preparing carbs as side dishes can sometimes feel like it takes too long. So that's why I decided to stock my whole freezer with 1 month's worth of carbs, things that freeze easily, things that can be reheated very easily, so that I can get these out the day before or a few days before, put them in the freezer to defrost and just warm them up very quickly in a matter of minutes. So I decided to have a massive meal prepping session where I filled my freezer with all of these 8 different types of carbs. And since I had this massive meal prepping session, I have been saving so much time in the kitchen as all of my carbs are already done, which is fantastic. And they taste just as good when I've reheated them. So what I like to do first is prep the items that take the longest. So I'm boiling a full kettle worth of water. Then I'm getting my oven on to preheat. And to save time, I'm going to be utilizing all of my cooking equipment so they can all be on at the same time. Another very good reason why I like to meal prep my carbs is so that I can portion them out in exactly the right portions that I want to eat so that I can continue to lose weight. What I find is that if I'm in a rush and I'm trying to get all of the different meals on the table for me and my family, the last thing that I'm focused on doing is making sure that it's the right calories for me. So I like to do this in advance. So what I like to do is make sure that I am weighing my food. So I like to know how much the potatoes weigh so that when I put them in the freezer, I can label them with exactly the number of calories that they've got so that I know that in the future. The next thing I'm doing is lining my baking tray with some grease-proof paper, also called parchment paper. And the next thing that I'm doing is giving my potatoes a quick wash. Then I'm patting them dry. Then I put the potatoes on the baking tray, and these are going to be my baked potatoes, and I'm spraying them down with a little sunflower oil. I like to use a sunflower oil spray, and this has 2 calories per spray, so as long as you add that into your calorie count, I don't see why I wouldn't add a little spray of oil to my baked potatoes, because it does make the skins crisp up and taste absolutely delicious, especially when you sprinkle them with salt, and the salt will stick on because you first sprayed them with oil. So I sprinkle it with either some sea salt or some kosher salt. I'm currently using kosher salt, and I found this great apron and matching glove set that fits my brand perfectly. I didn't design it myself, but it's very, very similar to my brand. So I thought, how can I not? So I had to grab those. And then I add the baked potatoes to 1 tray of the oven. The next thing I'm doing is I'm boiling my potatoes. So I've got myself a very large pan, and I'm not going to wash these because they are going to be boiling in water anyway, and they're already pre-washed in the bag anyway. So I'm just dumping all of the new potatoes, the baby potatoes, into the pan, and I'm also going to be adding the large potatoes for boiling on the top of here. Here is a hack for removing the skin from a potato without having to get your peeler out and peel them. What you do is you get a knife and you score round the outside of the potato in a circle, making sure that the lines join. And then you simply add it to the pan of boiling water, and at the end you'll be able to just pull the skin off like magic. And I'll show you that in a minute once they are boiled. Now I'm getting a large handful of salt. I'm guessing that's around 1 tablespoon, but it doesn't matter too much. This helps to season the potatoes from the inside out and makes them absolutely delicious. Now I'm covering the potatoes with boiling water and bringing them to a boil, then reducing them to a simmer. Now we're going to make the cornbread, and this cornbread is absolutely delicious. It comes together so quickly. all you do is you add everything to the blender. You add your cornmeal, doesn't matter what type, as long as it's ground cornmeal. Then you add your rolled or quick cook oats, some water, plant-based yogurt. I like to use soy yogurt because it's higher in protein. If you don't have yogurt, you could use applesauce. Add in some baking powder to make it rise. Your choice of plant-based sweetener, either maple syrup or my favorite brand at the moment is Sweet Freedom, made entirely from fruit. Add in your sea salt, blend it up until smooth. If you've got a high-speed blender, this will take about 1 minute. If you've not got a high-speed blender, it might take 2 or 3 minutes. Now I'm lining a square baking dish. You can use a square dish that's either 8 by 8 inches or 9 by 9 inches. Now I'm spraying the bottom of the tray with some sunflower oil, only 2 calories per spray. Pour in the cornbread mixture and put it in the oven to bake for around about 20 minutes. I'm just checking on my baked potatoes. They are almost done, looking fantastic already, and checking on my boiling potatoes. They are also almost done. To see if your boiled potatoes are done, grab yourself a fork and stick it through the potato. If it goes through easily and it feels like it's soft, then it's done. So it turns out that my small boiled potatoes were done, but my large ones were not. So I'm taking out the small potatoes and then putting the large potatoes back in again, as they need a bit longer. The small potatoes took around about 10 to 15 minutes to boil, and the large ones took around about 30 to 40 minutes to boil, but all potatoes are different depending on what size they are. Now my baked potatoes are done, so I can take those out of the oven, and I'm just checking them to see if they're done by putting a fork through them, and if the fork goes through easily, then they are done, and these ones are done. I'm now getting a bit hungry, so it's time for a smoothie break. I'm making myself a green thickie, which is a complete meal green smoothie full of all the 5 or 6 different elements that is needed to make a healthy, balanced meal for weight loss, and it's delicious as always, and such a time save in the kitchen, as I can get on with other things while I'm having my breakfast. Now the boiled potatoes are done, so I'm taking those out of the pan, and it's time to make some rice. I'm making boiled plain rice because I know that my whole family is going to like it if I keep it plain, but you could always add any spices you want, and if you check out my 12 different spice seasoning blends, you'll be able to choose a different spice seasoning for your rice if you prefer it seasoned, and you can add 1 tablespoon of seasoning to each batch of rice. Each batch of rice is round about 1 cup of rice and serves 4 people or 8 people who are on a calorie controlled diet, and I am making 2 cups of rice, and I'm going to be making this in my rice cooker, but you can make this on the stove, in the microwave, or even in the air fryer or oven. And you can check out my blog post if you want more detailed instructions on how to make this recipe or any of the recipes on any of my videos. Now I'm just having a check on the cornbread, and I'm sticking a knife through it to see if it comes out clean, and it does. It's been on for around 20 minutes, so it's done. So I'm taking it out and putting it on a rack to cool, and I'm going to cool it for around about 10 minutes before I slice it. This helps it to stay together and not fall apart. I'm cooking long grain rice, so I need to rinse my rice thoroughly before I cook it. Thankfully, I have a filter tap on my tap, so I'm using filtered water to rinse my rice, and I'm giving it a good rinse for 1 to 2 minutes. It's so easy making rice in the rice cooker. I just dump in the rice, followed by the water. Here's the ratio of cooking rice. If you use 1 cup of rice, you will need 1.5 cups of water to cook it with. I'm using 2 cups of rice and therefore 3 cups of water. Then add half a teaspoon of salt to each cup of rice. So I'm cooking 2 cups, so I'm using 1 full teaspoon of salt. Give it a little stir and then add it to the rice cooker. It's so easy because it just clicks off when it's done. You can use a similar method by cooking it on the stove, as long as you've got a lid for your pan. At this point, quite a lot of my carbs are already done, and I thought I was finished, and then I realized I forgot to make the fries. So back to the drawing board. Now it's time to slice up the cornbread. Cut this into 9 different squares. Slice it twice one way, then turn it round and slice it twice the other way to get 9 squares. And each square has less than 100 calories, which makes it the perfect side dish for any of your meals, because on my plant-based plates, The carb side dish usually has around about 100 calories and the whole plate has 400 calories. And I have another video explaining how I build my plates called How to Lose Weight with a Plant-Based Plate, so go and check that out. This cornbread is absolutely delicious. My whole family absolutely adores it. I make it all the time. My family like to have a little bit of butter on the top, vegan butter of course, which makes it taste even more delicious, and you would not know that this recipe was low in calories because it's so good. My rice cooker has clicked off, so that must mean that I now have perfect fluffy rice. Perfect every time, just the way I like it. It is so easy. So here's what I've made so far. It's almost done. Taking a quick moment to admire the view. Now I'm making fries. So I'm peeling some large white potatoes, then cutting them into strips and into fry shaped wedges. I'm putting them into a large bowl so that I can season them. I'm giving them a few sprays of this 2-calorie sunflower oil spray, and I've decided I'm going to add some barbecue seasoning to my fries. I suggest adding about 1 teaspoon of seasoning per large potato and also sprinkle it with salt. Give it a stir, and I'm cooking these in my air fryer. You can cook these in the oven or the air fryer, it's totally up to you. The air fryer is so much quicker and easier and makes the fries much more crispy, so I prefer the air fryer. But if I'm doing a really large batch, I will do the oven because I won't be able to fit in enough fries for my whole family in the air fryer, but I'm only making a small batch of fries today. Now I'm making some sweet potato fries. So the first thing I'm doing is peeling these sweet potatoes. If you don't mind eating the skin, you could save yourself some time making fries and leave the skin on if you like. Cut the sweet potatoes into fry shaped sections, add them to a large mixing bowl, spray them with some 2-calorie sunflower oil spray, add in some of your favorite seasoning. I'm using my homemade barbecue seasoning, and I have another video that tells you all of my spices, so go and check that out. I forgot to add the salt in earlier, so I'm just sprinkling it with salt on the top now. I'm just popping it in the air fryer. It's just so easy to just pull the drawer out and check if they're done, and I cook these for round about 10 to 15 minutes, and they are now perfectly done. The sweet potato fries go a little charred on the edges, and that's how you can tell sweet potatoes are fried, and the white potatoes go brown and crispy on the outside when they're done. Now all of my 8 carbs are finally done, and I can take some nice photos of them for my blog. And now I need to get all of this bagged up and into my freezer. I am portioning out some of my rice into the portion sizes that I like to eat in case I want to eat some on my own. I am using half a cup of cooked rice per portion because this is round about 100 calories. So I'm making a few of these bags that are 100 calories just for me, and then I'm going to be adding the rest to some larger bags for my family. The cornbread is already portioned out into 100-calorie squares, so that's very easy to just grab a piece when I want a quick carb on the side and know that it's going to be 100 calories. I'm wrapping up the baked potatoes in foil so that then I can easily put them back in the air fryer to warm them up. If you have a microwave, then put them in some other wrapping, not foil. And I'm just weighing a few of them so I know how many calories are in a few of them so that I can add those to my plate. I'm not weighing my fries because I'm going to give these to my kids. I'm portioning out some of the boiled potatoes into 100-calorie bags, and the rest of them will go in a large bag together. Now I'm showing you how easy it is to remove the skins from the potatoes when you score round the middle of the potato. This is so much faster than peeling the potato to start with, but depending on the type of potato that you use, some types of potatoes will work better than others for this trick. It took me a little longer with this type of potato, but it can take seconds with other types of potatoes, but both methods are quicker than peeling it to start with. What I do most of the time is leave the skins on because my family don't mind having mashed potatoes with the skins on, and this saves me so much time. So most of the time I actually leave the skins on, but I just wanted to show you how to take the skins off. And in a little wave of the wand, all of my food is bagged up into freezer bags. These are reusable bags that you can wash out and use time and time again. And they are fantastic for saving space in the freezer. I don't have space for using containers because this wastes a lot of space at the top of the container. And these can be squashed down into a very small freezer, which is what I have. Now it's time for me to wash my dishes. I do love a good meal prepping session. Let me know in the comments below, do you ever meal prep your carbs in advance and which ones? And just to let you know, I have a free Smoothies for Weight Loss bundle that you can get in the description below. It is a massive bundle for free, so go and grab that now. And if you're wondering how to season your carbs, then you'll be wanting to make yourself some homemade spice blends. I have 12 homemade spice blends that I use on repeat all the time, and it saves me so much time in the kitchen. If you want to check out that video, go and watch that now. It should pop up on the screen. And now it's your turn to go and make magic with carbs.
The magical life of fruit.